He chose my sister. They chose silence. I chose freedom, and it's louder than their excuses. I kept receipts, called a lawyer, and shut every door that didn't protect my sanity. Betrayal is expensive. Dignity pays dividends. I'm finally in the black. I'm Laura King, 34, project manager who lives by checklists and timestamps. That Tuesday, 6:12 p.m., I came home to our Phoenix suburb with a migraine and a Kroger rotisserie chicken cooling through the paper bag. Derek, 36, realtor with a laminate smile, sat on the gray sectional. My sister Megan, 28, wore my ASU hoodie and the expression of someone about to borrow a car. I asked, "How long?" Derek raised 2 fingers like he was estimating square footage. "About 13 months. Megan tucked hair behind her ear and said, "We didn't plan it." The bag dripped onto the tile. I said, "Understood." I put the chicken in the fridge, took my laptop to the guest room, and opened a new folder /divorce /. I called Mom. She said, "These things happen. Like hail." 10 minutes later, she texted a Pinterest quote about forgiveness over a picture of lavender. On Saturday, Dad staged a family summit at their house. 2 p.m., lemon bars, folding chairs. Seating chart told the story. Parents on the love seat. Derek and Megan side by side on the couch. My nephew Tyler, 16, staring at the floor. Me in a single accent chair angled toward a ficus. Dad cleared his throat. "We want minimal damage to the family." Mom added, "You're strong, Laura. Divorce like adults. No drama. Protect the reputation." I asked, "Whose?" No one answered. Derek said, "We'll keep the house. Tyler needs school stability." Megan squeezed his knee. My headache sharpened into a clean edge. Sunday, the humiliation rolled out on schedule. At church, Mom hugged Megan and whispered, loud enough for Mrs. Callahan to hear, "They fell in love. Laura's married to her job." After service, Derek shook hands like it was an open house. Megan posted reels from my kitchen. My blue Le Creuset in the background, captioned, "Choose the one who's there." Their friends commented, "So brave," and "Authentic love." Cousin Bree DM'd me, "If you'd been softer, this wouldn't have happened." I took screenshots, date-stamped, and dropped them into /evidence social/. By Monday, Derek forwarded a proposed amicable split, 65 of 35 in his favor, house to be sold within 90 days. Proceeds divided per the 65-35. Tyler for school stability with him. Me to pay for half of Tyler's car insurance for continuity. He suggested I keep my Honda Civic, since it fits your vibe. I forwarded the PDF to my attorney with the subject line, "Please file appearance. Document everything." She replied at 9:41 a.m. Received. Begin asset inventory. Do not move out. I wrote back, "Copy." Then I packed a carry-on with 2 suits, my passport, and the black ledger where I keep serial numbers and purchase dates. At 11:30 a.m., I opened the safe, combination still mine, and photographed the contents. My grandmother's topaz ring, Derek's watch collection, 5 pieces, the Tudor still with plastic on the clasp, the deed packet to the house, and the 529 statements Dad set up for Tyler with me as successor custodian. I emailed myself the images and moved PDFs into /evidence, financial/. At noon, Derek texted, "We're all hurting. Don't make it worse." I replied, "Send any further proposals via counsel." He wrote, "Lawyers only then." I tagged the thread, "Boundary established." That evening, from a $69 room at the Mesa Lodge, I watched their group chat light up. Muted, archived, screenshotted. Megan's maid of honor from my wedding, irony noted, wrote, "She's being financially abusive." Derek's business partner chimed, "What's hers is yours, man. Community property LOL." I made a list, who says what, who believes what, who moves money. I set a 7 a.m. alarm and, because procedural beats calm me, I labeled 3 manila folders. Assets, custody, narrative. Tyler texted at 10:18 p.m. "Aunt L, this sucks." I said, "Yeah, none of it is your fault. Eat protein. Hydrate." He sent a photo of the dog asleep under my old hoodie. At 2 a.m., When the AC kicked on and rattled the curtain, I added one line to the plan. Stop asking for decency from people who count on my silence. Tuesday dawned pale and practical. I booked a consult with a custody evaluator, reserved a storage unit with climate control, and bought a $39 Fluke multimeter because Derek never notices missing tools, only missing praise. My attorney called between hearings. We'll file for temporary orders. Exclusive use of the residence is a coin flip. Do not react publicly. I said, I won't. Then I emailed HR. Subject line, change of emergency contact and address. Attached. Mesa Lodge receipt. Tone, brisk. By dinner, no one from the family summit had called to check if I'd eaten. That told me the real agenda. So I wrote the next line in the ledger under a new heading, compliance strategy, and I underlined it twice. The studio rents for $780 and smells like boiled pasta and industrial cleaner. One room, a hot plate that clicks like it's counting down, and windows that whistle at 3 a.m. The door sticks. I lift, then push. The carpet is the color of wet hay. I inventory what I own. 3 work dresses, 2 pairs of flats, 1 blazer with shoulders that mean business even when I don't. I iron on the desk using a folded towel. The motel ice machine coughs every hour. I learn its rhythm like a neighbor's cough. Work is 2 buses and a light rail away. 80 minutes if the connections kiss, 2 hours when they turn their backs. I read policy manuals and custody case summaries on my phone. Brightness at 40% to save battery, notes tagged by date. The driver on the early line calls me Ledger Lady. I tip $1, he waves it off. I keep track of all tips anyway. Numbers settle me. Tyler cancels the first weekend. Friends coming over. I say, okay, next time. He cancels the second. Concert with Aunt Megan. I say, wear earplugs. I buy a $10 ticket to a high school game I don't need to attend, because that's where I used to see him laugh. I stand in the back and leave before halftime when the band plays Sweet Caroline. I am not the villain. I am the audience that left early. At the motel counter there's a tiny communal oven, ancient and moody. I take Grandma Ruth's card from the ledger pocket, grease-stained, the ink a little ghosted from years of handling, and bake brownies at 325 degrees because the knob lies. The first smell that feels like home floats down the hallway. A retired nurse named Wanda knocks with a fork. We eat standing up, paper towels for plates. She says, sell these. Her eyes are bright and unflinching. I make a sign the next day in the office conference room. Homemade cupcakes, $2. The font is Helvetica. The tape is Blue Painters, because details matter. They're gone in an hour. I open an Instagram at Blackline Bakery. Black line like accounting, like the place where a statement solves. I photograph on the motel bedspread with a sheet of white poster board as a backdrop. Window light at 10:10 a.m. First order is a 6-inch vanilla cake for a coworker's toddler. $1.55. Ingredients cost $35. The $20 feels like oxygen. I buy a second mixing bowl, a set of Russian piping tips I don't yet deserve, and a pack of bakery boxes that look more expensive than they are. For months in, the ledger shows $420 to $500 a month after costs. Cash in an envelope, logged, then deposited Monday mornings across from the bus stop. I track supply like a quartermaster. Cocoa, flour, butter, disposable gloves. I add a tiny scale to weigh batter so layers bake even. I learn that almond extract turns heads in an office sooner than chocolate ever does. Fridays I offer box of 4, $7. Office managers swipe their cards like it's a team-building exercise. The motel manager permits oven use if I leave a plate at the desk. I file the text under /evidence, residence/ to show habit and routine if custody ever requires stability narratives. I keep receipts that smell faintly of vanilla and toner. When I'm not baking, I'm quiet. Quiet weekends are dangerous. They invite bargaining with the past. So I schedule them like operations. Bus to thrift, find sheet pans. Bus to library, print labels. Bus home, prep buttercream. I make a playlist of songs without words to keep my brain from writing arguments I won't send. Public digs continue. In the school parent chat, someone posts a meme. A woman in a power suit holding a cat carrier, captioned "Career Girl Without a Man." Also without lasagna. The comment hearts float up like balloons. I screenshot, annotate with red arrows, and file it under /evidence, social/parent chat with a timestamp. 8:43 p.m. Mountain. I do not reply. Silence is the only tone I can afford. Megan posts a reel from my old kitchen. My blue Dutch oven in frame. Choose the one who's there. I pause the video to note the countertop scratches I always meant to buff out. Derek's hand enters the shot to sprinkle salt like he's auditioning for a life he didn't build. Their chorus calls me closed off, heartless, financially abusive. I copy each label into a spreadsheet with speaker name, relationship, platform, and whether they've ever asked Tyler his opinion. Most cells stay no. On Sundays the bus runs thin. I walk the last mile past auto shops and a pawn store with a neon guitar. I price tools in the window, thinking about Derek's partner's community property LOL text. I take a photo of the display not because I need proof, but because I like knowing what everything costs. Price is just a story with numbers. Wanda brings me a plant cutting in a styrofoam cup. Low light, little water, lots of patience, she says. I set it on the windowsill where the whistling is worst. The leaves don't care about my reputation. They care about the schedule of light. I can work with that. Orders climb in neat stairsteps. 5 boxes on Friday, 8 on Monday, a 12-dozen corporate order after someone posted my pistachio rose cupcakes during a Zoom. I turn the motel hot plate into a command center, timer, scale, notebook, sanitizer, mise en place in deli cups. On the 7:10 bus I run numbers. Rent plus transit plus butter futures measured against booked deposits. At my desk I stare at spreadsheets and feel my pulse drop. I draft the resignation on lunch, 12 sentences, no drama, effective in 2 weeks. My manager says, "No benefits here anyway." I nod. I am building my own. The test arrives on a Wednesday at 4:18 p.m. A 3-tier wedding cake feeds 110, due in 19 days. The bride, Maya, writes, "Our baker's mom got sick. Can you help?" I check inventory, calendar, and courage. "Yes," I reply. Then I send a $200 deposit link with terms. Delivery window, stand rental, refund policy, dietary disclaimers. She pays in 4 minutes. I rename the folder /wedding_Maya/ and start a checklist that eats the page. I spend midnight to 3 a.m. in tutorials. I learn to dowel properly, to level layers with floss, to rescue buttercream when it splits. The motel oven runs hot. I buy an internal thermometer and bake at 315 degrees. Blistered fingers, powdered sugar in my hair, forearms dotted like a line cook's. I practice stacking with dummy tears wrapped in fondant until my hands know the angle. The kitchen becomes a lab. Syrups, crumb coats, setting times. I tape a spirit level to the edge of the table. Wanda is my test audience. "Not too sweet," she decrees. I log it. The wedding is at a citrus grove in Gilbert. 2 p.m. heat. Bees drunk on blossoms. I deliver in a rented Prius with the AC blasting and 2 emergency kits. Extra buttercream, extra dowels, extra calm. When I set the last sugar peony, Maya cries happy. The good kind, hand at her mouth, mascara steady. The photographer angles the light. The planner says, "Who did this?" Maya tags at Blackline Bakery before I pull away. By evening, a local food blogger posts, "Baking from nothing, the motel oven miracle." My inbox jumps like oil on a hot pan. Inquiries surge. Birthdays, quinceañeras, a tech bro who wants a GPU cake. I run a break-even and sign a 3-month lease on a shared commercial kitchen in Tempe. 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. slot. $19 per hour. Dry storage shelf C14. First night. The smell of real convection makes me weak with relief. I buy a real mixer, 10-quart used, and I finally breathe. I label everything in blue tape. Laura, EGGS. Laura, cake flour. Laura, boundaries. Meanwhile, Derek and Megan move into my old neighborhood under the pretense of being near Tyler. At a block party grill, Someone jokes, Laura will count your calories. And they laugh like it's community service. Megan uploads a TikTok from my former backyard. Pick the one who's home, not on overtime. With a slow pan of fairy lights I strung. 100,000 views. Aunties in the comments award halos. I screenshot view counts, IP times, location tags, and the frame where my etched planter shows. Evidence is oxygen, too. I meet my lawyer in a strip mall office with dermatology on one side and tax prep on the other. We go point by point. Preserve the harassment trail. Request metadata from platforms in discovery. Collect IP footprints where feasible public posts, not hacks. She files to formalize a non-disparagement clause for Tyler's sake. We expect resistance. No public statements, she reminds. I nod. Then I post buttercream roses without caption. Roses don't argue. The turn loads like batter into pans. When you rise, not everyone who shows up is a customer. A podcaster asks for your scandal story in exchange for exposure. I send a rate card. A lifestyle brand offers payment in candles. I reply with an invoice. A friend of Megan's DMs, free cake for a collab. I send the booking link. Silence is a pleasant outcome. Cash flow stabilizes. I switch to an LLC, open a business account, and get a Square reader that clicks like a metronome. I price for labor, not forgiveness. I rent a small delivery van 3 Saturdays in a row and negotiate a standing discount after the third. I buy a garment rack for cooling layers and a set of Cambros for syrups. The plant cutting on my motel sill grows 2 new leaves. I add a photo to my wins file. The caption in my head is simple. Keep going. The first 1-star lands at 6:07 a.m. Found a hair baked into the crumb. Disgusting. No order number. No photo. Username, HealthNut84. Second hits at lunch. Dry as chalk. Late and dented frosting. Refund refused. I check logs, no refunds requested. Delivery tracker shows on time. Signed by JP. 3 more pop like corn. Same phrasing, different cities, all new accounts. I reply with calm scripts, invite order numbers, offer replacements. Silence. Then a viral photo. A roach posed on one of my boxes, taped sloppily near the seam. My tape is blue. The photo shows clear. Comments avalanche. Motel kitchen. Unsanitary. Knew it. I call the county. The inspector arrives at 3:22 p.m., walks the Tempe kitchen, takes temps, swabs drains, checks my serve safe. No violations, she says, leaving a neat report. I post the pass with a neutral caption. The damage outruns the facts. Cancellations roll in like a tide schedule. For birthdays, 1 quince, 2 weddings. Deposits refunded per contract because the dates can still be filled, except they won't be, not with search results salted. The food blogger DMs an apology. I was premature in my praise. She edits the headline. From nothing to maybe nothing. I don't reply. Instead I trim everything I can. Pause the van, swap to wholesale butter, stretch parchment sheets until the edges curl. I cut my Tempe hours to the cheapest slot. Midnight to 4 a.m. when industrial hum keeps the anxiety company. 2 nights later, Tyler texts. They're going to Sedona. I'm home. The lovebirds are out celebrating a new escrow. I send, eat real food. Sleep. At 11:03 p.m. he calls whispering. Megan left her phone. Face ID opened with her eyes shut. She passed out. I say nothing, let the silence say go on. He breathes. There's a group chat called Clean Slate. They're paying people $40 to $60 for write reviews. Screenshots of courier routes. Derek's giving instructions. My stomach hits the floor, then gets to its feet. Upload to the cloud. I say. Take video of the phone screen while you scroll. Include the lock screen time. Show the battery, the Wi-Fi name. He says, already doing it. At 11:21 p.m., images start landing in a shared folder. Cash App receipts to usernames that rhyme. A Google Doc titled Narrative Beats. A list of my delivery windows scraped from my own stories. A saved clip of the roach photo with Megan's caption draft. Standards matter. Derek's text pinned at the top. She lost her son on her own. Consequences. Tyler freezes in his own living room, thumb hovering. He takes one deep breath, records a slow pan of the house, proof of location, and waits on the couch with the TV muted. The front door thumps at 12:04 a.m. Footsteps. Ty! Derek calls, cheerful and off. Megan's voice is sloppy warm. Tyler hits play on a recording app and the TV, loud with a car ad, then walks into the hall. I saw your plan, he says. Megan snaps awake. You don't understand. He keeps his voice level. I do. You were wrecking my mom's life, and I stayed silent. He grabs his backpack. Chargers, hoodie, binder with physics notes, and leaves before anyone can script him. He texts me from the bus stop, eastbound, Route 45. 3 transfers. Don't sleep. I make cocoa and wait by the prep table, mixing bowl as moon. At 1:31 a.m., he steps into the Tempe kitchen flushed from cold air and adrenaline. We don hairnets because rules matter even in emergencies. He sits on a flour sack and looks older than 16. I thought if I didn't choose, it wasn't my fault, he says. Then I saw Derek's text about me. I nod. Thank you for not letting them speak for you. We rinse anger off our hands and start drafting. We write truth without names, facts with receipts. Slide 1. The county inspection pass, time-stamped, report number. Slide 2. The Roach photos EXIF data, edited in an app, not original camera. Slide 3. Payments to Right reviewers, $40 to $60 via Cash App and gift cards, with usernames and dates. Slide 4. Courier routes pulled from my public posts. We note how they planned accidental delays to trigger refunds. Slide 5. Derek's line about consequences, scrubbed of phone numbers but legible. We add a note. We're submitting all of this to platforms via official channels. At 3:05 a.m., I send everything to my lawyer. Subject, tortious interference evidence. Attachments labeled. Chain of custody documented. Tyler, Cloud, me. She replies in 6 minutes. Received. Do not post names. File platform reports. Police non-emergency for harassment. We do. I fill out forms with URLs and upload the inspection pass. Tyler files his own statement about access to the phone. We print 2 copies for a binder named /reputation/. By dawn, I have 30 fewer followers and 1 longer spine. We eat leftover chocolate cake with spoons. Tyler says, if we go public, I want to say I'm sorry. I say, we go factual, not emotional. Apologies are for kitchens, not feeds. The plan is simple. We tell the story like accountants. Line by line, ledger clean, names redacted, receipts lined up like soldiers. The cost is clear. The value is too. We film in the Tempe kitchen at 6:40 a.m. Fluorescent hum, mixer off, everything scrubbed to a shine. Tripod on a flour sack, my phone at eye level. I keep my voice even and my hands visible. Slide by slide. The county pass, the inspection number, the EXIF on that staged roach, the gift card bounties, the copied courier routes, the consequences line. Then Tyler steps in on frame left, apron crooked, hair a mess, saying, I abandoned my mom by indifference. I believed what was easy. If you gave those reviews weight, please give the bakery a second look. If not, I understand. He doesn't cry, he doesn't perform. He tells the truth like a ledger. By night, we hit 50,000 views. Not viral chaos, steady, deliberate. Comments read like audit notes. We suspected brigading. Thanks for receipts. A nurse posts, I saw that inspector this week. She's tough. We pin a booking link and a how to verify your order came from us checklist. I go to work. Sugar doesn't care about discourse. The blogger comes back, this time with a hairnet and a notebook. She fact-checks on site. She sticks a probe thermometer into a cooling cake, asks why I cool at 50 minutes and not 45. Because at 45 the center domes when the kitchen hits 76 degrees Fahrenheit. She writes it down. Her piece lands 2 days later. Tough on unnamed saboteurs, warm on craft, clear on process. Photography shows my hands and Tyler's hands side by side. Frosting streaked. Not pitiable, competent. Orders return in a sensible trickle. A teacher orders sheet cakes with piped pencils. A retiree wants a tres leches like the one his wife used to make. We test 3 milks and cry privately in the walk-in. A startup pays full rate for a logo cake that tastes like orange creamsicle and funding rounds. I rehire myself at a wage that pays the Tempe rent and the motel and a sliver of relief. Tyler spends weekends in an apron. He mixes up tips, hands me an offset spatula when I need the bench scraper, and uses too much dish soap. But he closes with me at 2 a.m., across 2 buses and a quarter moon. The commute drains him. He refuses to quit. Basketball players do two-a-days, he says. We can do cakes and school. Elsewhere, karma doesn't sprint. It rolls like a slow cart with one squeaky wheel. Derek starts working late again. His partner blames the market. The market shrugs. By fall, Megan is pregnant, glowing under ring lights, captioning rainbow after the storm. Derek files a quick divorce under their prenup. I watch the docket notes appear like raindrops. Assets shielded behind his LLC, payments minimal, custody terms written like an invoice. He never loved anyone as much as he loved his leverage. Megan moves to Peoria with a newborn. Her stories show Markdown produce in a wire basket and a baby in a sling that looks washed to thread. She asks for no negativity in comments. I feel none. At night, once the mixers stop, I still hear the baby. Phantom, in the ducts, in the liftgate thump of the delivery van in my head. I don't hand her cash. The money would launder their narrative. But I assemble a resource packet the way I assemble a croquembouche. Meticulous, repeatable, structurally sound. WIC office locations, SNAP and how to recertify after a move, daycare vouchers, sliding scale pediatric clinics, rent relief, legal clinics for custody and support enforcement, a list of churches that host diaper banks without sermons. I put in the city bus map with the lines highlighted and a note about the safe stop near the Peoria Library that still has a working printer. I print it all, tab it in colored dividers, slide it into a binder. No names, no handwriting. I drop it, unsigned, at my parents' porch on a Tuesday at 5:12 p.m., between my second delivery and the school pickup line. Mom will think an angel delivered it. Fine. Let her keep her theology. I'll keep my receipts. I don't expect a thank you. Tyler flips through my extra copy and says, quiet. This is what help looks like. I tell him help is a verb. He nods like I handed him a tool. We lock up at 2:11 a.m. Tyler checks the oven twice. I set the alarm, count the dings, and watch the reflected light of the exit sign on the steel table. The plant cutting at the motel has 3 leaves now. I take a photo for the wins file. The caption writes itself. Care is not a secret. Megan shows up the first time on a Wednesday at 11:06 a.m. Eyeliner winged like she's late to a confession she dressed up for. She doesn't look at the cooling racks. She looks at the office camera. Turn it off, she says. No, I keep my hands flat on stainless. She starts with demands wrapped as favors. Post a statement that the hate was random. Let people move on. Don't involve Tyler in adult mess. I tilt my head at the pronoun. She says softer. You're better than this, Laura. I say, better than what, facts? She flinches. When I ask if she'd like a water, she hears the boundary, not the offer. She leaves with a smile for the customer line, like politics, like survival. She returns a month later, bare-faced, sweat at the temples, no theater. She holds the door for a mother with twins, waits until the bell stops ringing. I was jealous, she says, no preamble, of the way you don't need an audience to do the right thing. I kept making the show bigger because I was afraid you'd win the quiet way. Her voice catches once. Your coldness, be careful. It's turning you into me. I hear the baby in her sling sigh, small hiccup sound. I straighten a stack of cake rounds, by time. Honesty noted, I say. Also, you don't get to narrate my temperature. She nods. I deserve that. She asks if she can buy a box of lemon bars. I ring her up at full price, bag them, open the door, and tell her not to come back. I lock it behind her and stand there long enough to taste metal. That night, the baby cries in my head even when the mixers sleep. There's no front door rescue. I choose a side entrance. I don't save the offender, but I refuse to let the baby fall. Anonymous emails and hotlines are systems, not feelings. I put the resource packet into motion like any production run. I route the daycare voucher instructions to the right county worker, flag the SNAP delay to a supervisor, bookmark a pediatric clinic intake portal, and submit the unsigned referral with the bus line highlighted. I never see a confirmation that lands on her screen. I don't need to. My ledger shows time invested and outcomes observed. Diaper bank restocks, WIC appointments kept. A stroller appears in a background story 2 weeks later. I note the model. Procedure is how mercy keeps its shape. The bakery grows to 2 kitchens, Tempe nights, and a small morning space near downtown. I hire 2 part-timers from the culinary program and a retired bookkeeper who treats reconciliations like crosswords. Tyler and I move to a 2-bedroom with a washer that sings and a window that doesn't whistle. He hangs a whiteboard by the fridge for physics formulas and delivery routes. We color code weekends. School in blue, cakes in green, rest in black, non-negotiable. He gets his license, parallel parks the van smoother than I do, and corrects my unit conversions like payback for childhood bedtimes. My parents invite us to save face at holidays. They want a chapter photo, not a reckoning. I choose polite distance, RSVP maybe, send pies, skip speeches. When mom texts, family is forever, I reply, boundaries are too. Dad drops off a folding table he says I can use for craft fairs. I bake him an apple tart and leave it with the guard at their gate. We trade in objects, not absolutions. It works. Year 2, I sponsor the school robotics team and teach ganache ratios like physics you can eat. Year 3, we're profitable after salaries and sleep. I forget the exact Tuesday it all began, whether it was the rotisserie chicken night or the lemon bars, but I know I've won. Not because anyone suffers, because their opinions don't register as inputs. Noise isn't data. We are signal now. Sometimes, late, I still hear a phantom cry in the hum of the walk-in. I answer it by setting timers, by paying vendors on time, by closing the loop. Tyler preps for college essays with a statement he won't submit. My family's drama taught me control theory. He laughs. We frost. We rest. We repeat. When the past knocks, I don't open doors. I audit locks. The plant cutting is a whole pot hose, draped like bunting over the kitchen shelf. I water on Fridays. I keep the schedule. I keep the peace. And when people ask for the moral, I give it in a language they understand. He chose my sister, they chose silence. I chose freedom, louder than their excuses. I kept receipts, called a lawyer, and shut every door that didn't protect my sanity. Betrayal is expensive. Dignity pays dividends. I'm finally in the black.